What if I told you there's a country where most people don't believe in God, yet it's one of the safest places on Earth? A nation that drinks more beer than anyone else, is home to the world's largest ancient castle, and even split into two countries without a single shot being fired. These are just a few of the unbelievable facts about Czechia that most people have never heard. Let's dive in. One of the least religious countries in the world. Here is a fact that surprises almost everyone. Czechia is widely recognized as one of the most secular countries on Earth. While religion continues to play an important role in many societies, a large share of the Czech population does not identify with any organized faith. According to the most recent national census conducted in 2021, religion was an optional question. Among those who chose to answer, 68.3% said they had no religious belief, while only 18.7% identified with a church or religious organization. Looking at the entire population, nearly half of all Czechs reported having no religion, and many others preferred not to answer at all. International surveys tell a similar story. Research by the Pew Research Center found that around 2/3 of Czech adults said they do not believe in God, making Czechia one of the least religious nations ever measured. However, that does not necessarily mean everyone is an atheist. Some people describe themselves as agnostic. Others consider themselves spiritual without belonging to a church. And many simply see religion as a private matter, rather than a central part of daily life. So how did this happen? Historians point to several centuries of political and social change. Religious conflicts during the Middle Ages, followed by decades of communist rule in the 20th century, gradually reduced the influence of organized religion. Over time, Czech society developed a culture that places greater emphasis on science, education, personal freedom, and individual choice. What surprises many visitors the most is that despite having one of the world's highest rates of religious non-affiliation, Czechia remains one of Europe's safest and most stable countries. Communities are generally peaceful, religious freedom is fully protected, and historic churches are carefully preserved as cultural treasures. In Czechia, whether someone follows a religion or not is usually considered a personal decision, allowing people with different beliefs to live side by side with mutual respect. Czechs drink more beer than anyone else on Earth. If there is one thing Czechia is famous for, besides its fairy tale castles, it is beer. For more than 3 decades, the country has consistently ranked #1 in the world for beer consumption per capita. According to the latest industry statistics, the average Czech drinks around 128 liters of beer each year, far more than the global average. Beer is deeply woven into everyday life, from family gatherings and local festivals to casual lunches and weekend outings. What makes this even more surprising is that beer is often incredibly affordable. In some traditional pubs, especially outside the busiest tourist areas, a glass of locally brewed draft beer can cost less than a bottle of imported mineral water. While prices have gradually increased because of inflation, beer remains one of the best value drinks in the country. Czechia is also the birthplace of the world-famous Pilsner-style lager, first brewed in the city of Plzeň in 1842. Today, that brewing tradition continues with hundreds of regional breweries producing award-winning beers known for their quality and craftsmanship. For many Czechs, enjoying a beer is less about drinking alcohol and more about spending time with friends, relaxing after work, and preserving a tradition that has been passed down for generations. In Czechia, beer is not simply a beverage, it is an important part of the nation's cultural identity. Prague looks like a city from a fairy tale. Walking through Prague can feel like stepping onto the set of a medieval fantasy movie. Unlike many European capitals that were heavily rebuilt after major wars, much of Prague's historic cityscape survived. allowing visitors to experience centuries of architecture within just a few streets. Its UNESCO-listed historic center includes the Old Town, the Lesser Town, and the New Town, with buildings and monuments dating from the 11th through the 18th centuries. The protected historic district contains more than 1,300 officially listed buildings, and many are still used today as homes, hotels, restaurants, offices, and shops. Instead of seeing history locked behind museum doors, visitors can sleep inside centuries-old houses, eat beneath Gothic ceilings, and ride streetcars past Baroque palaces. The city's skyline is filled with church towers, red rooftops, stone bridges, and castle walls. Charles Bridge has crossed the Vltava River since the 14th century, while Prague Castle and St. Vitus Cathedral rise dramatically above the city. Around Old Town Square, narrow cobblestone streets lead to colorful facades and the famous medieval astronomical clock. Prague is more than a collection of old monuments. It is a living city where nearly 1,000 years of history remains part of everyday life, making it one of Europe's most visually unforgettable capitals. The world's largest ancient castle is in Czechia. One of Czechia's most astonishing landmarks is Prague Castle, officially recognized by Guinness World Records as the largest ancient castle complex in the world. Stretching about 570 meters long and covering nearly 70,000 square meters. It is so enormous that exploring the entire site can easily take half a day, or even longer. But Prague Castle is far more than a single building. It functions almost like a small historic town enclosed within fortress walls. Inside the complex, visitors will find magnificent palaces, peaceful courtyards, museums, royal gardens, government buildings, and the breathtaking St. Vitus Cathedral, whose construction began in 1344 and continued for nearly 6 centuries. There is also the famous Golden Lane, a charming street lined with colorful medieval houses where craftsmen, guards, and later writers once lived. Unlike many castles that serve only as tourist attractions, Prague Castle remains an active part of modern Czech life. It is the official residence of the President of the Czech Republic and hosts important national ceremonies throughout the year. This remarkable combination of history, architecture, culture, and government makes it unlike almost any other castle in the world. Standing inside its walls feels less like visiting a monument and more like walking through nearly 1,000 years of living European history. One of Europe's safest and most livable countries. For many first-time visitors, one of the biggest surprises is just how peaceful everyday life feels in Czechia. Although no country is completely free from crime, Czechia has consistently ranked among the safest nations in Europe for many years. In the 2026 Global Peace Index, the country placed 13th out of 163 countries and territories, reflecting its high levels of public safety, political stability, and low levels of violent conflict. This impressive ranking places Czechia ahead of many larger and more well-known tourist destinations. Visitors often notice that city centers remain lively well into the evening. Public transportation operates efficiently, and many residents feel comfortable walking through their neighborhoods after dark. Prague, Brno, and other major cities are generally considered safe for international travelers. Of course, like any popular tourist destination, crowded areas can attract pickpockets, so keeping an eye on personal belongings is always recommended. Beyond those common travel precautions, most tourists describe Czechia as a relaxed and welcoming place to explore. Safety is only part of the story. Czechia also offers an impressive quality of life. The country has a reliable healthcare system, a strong education network, modern infrastructure, clean public spaces, and one of Europe's most efficient public transportation systems. Nature is never far away, with forests, rivers, mountains, and thousands of kilometers of hiking trails easily accessible from major cities. Residents enjoy a healthy balance between work and leisure, with weekends often spent outdoors or with family and friends. International organizations such as the OECD have repeatedly rated Czechia above average in areas including employment, education, personal security, social connections, and overall life satisfaction. Combined with a relatively affordable cost of living compared with much of Western Europe, these advantages have made Czechia an increasingly popular destination not only for tourists, but also for international students, skilled professionals, and digital nomads looking for a safe, comfortable, and high-quality place to live. Czechia has been one of Europe's biggest centers for the adult entertainment industry. Another fact that surprises many people is Czechia's long-standing reputation as one of Europe's major production hubs for the adult entertainment industry. Following the political and economic changes of the early 1990s, the country attracted numerous international production companies thanks to its modern film studios, skilled crews, competitive production costs, and central location in Europe. For many years, Prague became one of the continent's busiest locations for this type of media production, alongside its much larger mainstream film industry. Although the sector receives attention from international media, it represents only a small part of the country's overall economy. Czechia is far better known today for its advanced manufacturing, automotive industry, engineering, tourism, and world-famous brewing tradition. The existence of this industry often surprises visitors because it contrasts sharply with Prague's image as a city filled with Gothic churches, medieval castles, and centuries-old architecture. Despite this reputation, Czech law regulates businesses in this sector through legal and labor frameworks, while public spaces remain similar to those of other major European cities. Most tourists visiting Czechia spend their time exploring historic landmarks, museums, castles, and cultural festivals without ever encountering this part of the entertainment industry. It is simply one lesser-known aspect of the country's modern history rather than its defining identity. A country filled with thousands of castles and châteaux. If you think Prague Castle is impressive, here's another surprise. Czechia is home to one of the highest concentrations of castles and châteaux in all of Europe. Across this relatively small country, there are more than 2,000 historic castles, castle ruins, and stately châteaux, giving Czechia one of the richest collections of historic architecture on the continent. No matter which region you visit, chances are you'll find an ancient fortress perched on a hill, a beautifully preserved Renaissance château surrounded by gardens, or the ruins of a medieval stronghold overlooking a river valley. Many of these landmarks date back hundreds of years and tell stories of kings, noble families, battles, and political change that helped shape Central European history. What makes these sites even more special is that many are open to the public. Visitors can explore royal apartments, climb medieval towers, walk through centuries-old courtyards, and admire priceless collections of art, furniture, and historical artifacts. Others have been transformed into museums, luxury hotels, or cultural venues that host concerts and festivals throughout the year. For a country with a population of just over 10 million people, the sheer number of historic castles is extraordinary. This remarkable concentration of architectural treasures is one of the reasons Czechia continues to attract history lovers, photographers, and travelers from around the world, offering a glimpse into nearly 1,000 years of European heritage. Czechs have a deep love for nature and hiking. One of the most enjoyable surprises about Czechia is how much people love spending time outdoors. Hiking is not just a hobby here, it is part of everyday life. On weekends, it is common to see families, friends, and even grandparents heading into forests, mountains, or the countryside with backpacks and comfortable walking shoes. Whether it is a short afternoon stroll or a full-day adventure, being close to nature is an important part of Czech culture. What makes this even more remarkable is the country's extensive hiking network. Czechia has more than 44,000 kilometers of officially marked hiking trails, making it one of the most comprehensive trail systems in the world. These routes are maintained by the Czech Tourist Club, an organization that has been marking trails for well over a century. The famous colored trail markers are so reliable that many hikers can navigate without relying on a GPS. The trails pass through national parks, sandstone rock formations, medieval castles, peaceful villages, and rolling hills, offering spectacular scenery in every season. In autumn, colorful forests attract photographers from around the world, while spring brings blooming meadows and fresh mountain air. For many Czechs, a weekend is not complete without a walk in nature. It is a tradition that combines exercise, relaxation, and family time, reflecting a lifestyle that values the outdoors just as much as modern city life. Czechia and Slovakia separated without a war. One of the most remarkable chapters in modern European history is how Czechia and Slovakia peacefully became two independent countries. While many national breakups around the world have been marked by conflict or violence, the separation of Czechoslovakia took place without a single battle. On January 1st, 1993, the country officially split into the Czech Republic and Slovakia after political leaders from both sides agreed that each nation should govern itself independently. This peaceful transition became known as the Velvet Divorce, a name inspired by the earlier Velvet Revolution of 1989, which had peacefully ended communist rule in Czechoslovakia. Unlike many historical separations, there was no civil war, no military confrontation, and no widespread violence. Government institutions, public property, the national currency, and even diplomatic responsibilities were carefully divided through negotiations. Although the two countries became independent, they maintained close political, economic, and cultural ties. Today, Czechia and Slovakia remain friendly neighbors, cooperate within both the European Union and NATO, and share many traditions rooted in their common history. Many people can still understand each other's languages with little difficulty. Historians often point to the Velvet Divorce as one of the most peaceful examples of a country's dissolution in modern history, proving that major political change does not always have to come through conflict. It is still more affordable than much of Western Europe. Although prices in Czechia have risen over the past few years, the country remains one of the best value destinations in Central Europe. Compared with many popular Western European countries such as France, Germany, Switzerland, or the Netherlands, visitors can often enjoy quality food, reliable public transportation, and comfortable accommodations while spending significantly less. Dining out is a great example. Traditional Czech restaurants often serve generous portions at reasonable prices, and locally brewed beer is still among the most affordable in Europe. Public transportation is another pleasant surprise. Cities like Prague offer an extensive network of metro lines, trams, and buses, with tickets that cost far less than those in many other European capitals. The system is clean, efficient, and easy for tourists to use. Accommodation also offers a wide range of options, from budget hostels and family-run guest houses to luxury hotels, making Czechia suitable for travelers with almost any budget. Beyond Prague, smaller cities and historic towns are often even more affordable, while providing equally impressive architecture and cultural experiences. Because of this balance between quality and cost, Czechia has become a favorite destination for budget-conscious travelers, backpackers, students, and families alike. Many visitors are pleasantly surprised to discover that they can experience medieval castles, world-class museums, excellent local cuisine, and beautiful scenery, without the high travel expenses often associated with Western Europe, a landlocked country that attracts millions of visitors every year. Most people assume that Europe's top travel destinations are countries with famous beaches or coastlines. Surprisingly, Czechia has no coastline at all, yet it continues to attract millions of international visitors every year. According to the Czech Statistical Office, the country's tourism industry has fully rebounded in recent years, welcoming more than 22 million guests to hotels, guest houses, and other accommodations in 2024, with international travelers making up a significant share of those visits. The biggest attraction is, without question, Prague. Often called the City of 100 Spires, the Czech capital regularly appears on lists of Europe's most beautiful and most visited cities. Travelers come from around the world to admire its medieval streets, Gothic cathedrals, Baroque palaces, historic bridges, and vibrant cafes. Many visitors say that Prague offers the charm of Paris or Vienna, while remaining more compact and easier to explore on foot. Beyond the capital, Czechia offers hundreds of castles, picturesque towns, national parks, and UNESCO World Heritage sites spread across the country. Thanks to its central location in Europe, excellent public transportation, and relatively affordable travel costs, many tourists end up staying longer than they originally planned. Czechia proves that you do not need an ocean to become one of Europe's most unforgettable destinations. Those were 11 of the most surprising facts about Czechia. But there are still many incredible stories waiting to be discovered. Which fact amazed you the most? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with your friends. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next adventure.